how can you, number one, lead yourself? And number two, start hiring people and building a team that will lead themselves. That's the thing that you got to focus on early.
Ken, how are you, man?
Hey, good to see you, man. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate you jumping on, taking the time. I know you're super, super, super busy, so I'm very thankful that you got to jump on, and I'm actually excited to see if I can, get some tips as well, because as you know, the purpose of getting you on was to get information for entrepreneurs or people that want to start a business, and just get as much nuggets of information as we can. So thank you so much for taking the time to jump on. Again, I know you're super busy, and I really do appreciate it. And Ken, I know that you had a very successful large event business in Japan, and you reached a whole bunch of success with that event business, which transpired you to start this video marketing business that you created, and where you took basically that message at events and kind of spread it all over the world. I know you've worked with some huge large names. Early on, as you started the business, what were some mistakes that you made? And what those mistakes that you made, how did they help to improve where you're at right now?
Hey, thanks for that. I think that, there's so many mistakes. I don't know where to start, but if we look at the big ones, right? The ones that if I could relive, I really would, is number one, I would have really invested a lot more of my effort and time and money into leadership skills, because the moment you think that you're the best in the world at what you do is the moment you start digging your own grave. The moment you realize that you need to hire people smarter than you need to hire people with a higher level of education, a better way of executing than you. And the moment you realize that you need to surround yourself with people smarter than you, but you're the one that needs to be paying them, that's when you realize that leadership skills are more important than anything, more important than any business strategy you can come up with, any course you can take, is leadership. How can you, number one, lead yourself, and number two, start hiring people and building a team that will lead themselves? That's the thing that you got to focus on early, really early.
I mean, I could imagine, when did you realize that you needed, when you first started, was it pretty soon? You're like, hey, I can't do this by myself. I have to develop this leadership skill.
No, like for the first 3 or 4 businesses I was in, it was all solo. It was just a solo plus assistants.
Yeah.
Um, no, it wasn't a leadership team. It was just assistants. And only recently am I actually really I'm hiring people who are building their own departments and hiring their own people. And before, it was always me that did the hiring. That handpicked the people. But then everybody reported to me, and that just sucks. It's not scalable. Like, the first level is you in entrepreneurship is you figure out, what's your USP, your unique service proposition, right? And then how can you provide it at the highest level in the world in that category, and then go out and sell it, right? And then the second level is, how can you find the people who have the unique service that they can offer you and to your customers, right? Then you find those people. And the third level is, how can you find the people who can find the people, right? So now you got to get to that third level, right? Because I found the people who can execute based on my instructions and bring a high level of service to my clients. And now I'm transitioning to, how can I find the people who can find the people, find and train those people who can do that. So that way, there's a rule of 7, right? You know the rule of 7? It's never have more than 7 people report to one person, right? In other words, one person can only effectively manage and communicate with 7 people max. If it gets to be more than 7, then somebody feels neglected, or somebody always gets put in the back burner. So there's, you got, like, the reason there's so many layers is because the general should only be leading 7 people. And those 7 people at the most should be leading 7 people each, and on and on and on. So then if you can focus on inspiring and grooming 7 people, that's all there should be. And if there's more, then you put them under those people.
I love that. I've never heard that. That makes total sense, because you can only manage but a certain amount of people, and
At least well, right?
At least well, right? Where you know about them, you know about their lives, you build a personal relationship with your team. Because some of the biggest parts of leadership is listening and being available. And if you got more than 7, I totally see that. That's a great, I've never heard that. It makes sense though. I could see military commanders kind of using that strategy, because they're going to get overwhelmed, and they're not, and their leadership is going to be diminished because their troops don't have confidence in them, because they don't have that personal relationship. So I love that. All right, Ken. All right, I got another question for you. If you had to give one tip to someone just starting out in video, what would it be?
Okay, number one, stop selling a service. Don't sell a service. That's the worst thing in the world as a videographer you can do. Don't say I do weddings or services or events or corporate gigs. Don't do services. Sell a program. Because here's the thing, a service means, think about the word service. Embedded in that word is the word servant. So the person who's paying you money gets to boss you around, order you around, and you're running around in circles, chasing your tail, trying to make them happy. And they're going to ask for revisions on your work just because they want to feel like they're superior to you. And you're going to start, being way underbilled for your hours, because, they're going to keep working you down, shaking you down. And even with good intentions, they want to feel like they're in charge, right? And you don't want to be in that position where you're their servant. You want to provide a program. You want to use your intellectual property and create a program, a structured program where you tell them, you follow these specific steps and you will get these specific results. If it's weddings, like, okay, so here's the way the program works, right? We're going to send you this package. You're going to answer these questions. On this day, you're going to pay this deposit. On this day, we're going to do this rehearsal. On this day, we're going to do this shoot. On this day, we're going to do the screening. And on this day, you're going to get the final product. And then on this day, you're going to pay this amount of money, right? Like, everything is laid out in a timeline for exactly when something's going to happen, what's going to happen, and all of the contingencies. If you're not happy with this, you get this many revisions. After this many revisions, you get billed at this much. Like, it's a program. It's in a package. And think of a conveyor belt, right? That's how you got to build your program, not a service, right? And they're going to sit in that conveyor belt and they're going to follow orders, your instructions, because you know better than they do. And they're going to feel really safe and really happy because of the fact that it's so well organized. And the fact that they don't have to think of what to do. They just have to follow the program. Now, there's going to be some people who are just like, well, I want it like this. I want it like that. And you're going to say, great. I have a friend. His name's Bob. He's 17 years old. He lives in his mom's, garage. And by the way, he's willing to do it at that price and at your, and then they're going to feel like, oh, shoot, I'm going to lose this guy. And they're going to come back to you. And if they don't, you don't want them in the first place. Okay. That's number one. Okay. Sell a program, not a service. Okay. Use a little bit of foresight and thinking and realize that you have to set yourself up as the authority, as the person in charge, as the person who's in the pilot seat of the airplane, and they're the passenger. You tell them, sit down, buckle in, and you're going to have an amazing ride, right? And don't smoke, like, there's rules, right? It's your plane. They sit down and they get up when you tell them to. They can't get up in, when you're taking off to get the baggage out of the compartment. That's illegal,
Yeah.
like, right? Your rules, your vehicle, they're the passenger. Okay, that's number one. Number two is there's one client you got to have before any other clients, more important than any other client. And this is going to be a really easy client to close. Okay, it's I call it your number one VIP customer. Super easy to close, but also very, very hard to fulfill on, because of the fact that this person is not used to being in front of the camera. This person is not accustomed to it, and they're also not super disciplined. But they're a VIP, and they're going to be your customer. They're going to be a regular customer. And you got to close this person. Really easy to close, really hard to fulfill on. And if you don't close this guy, then you'll always be someone's servant, and you will never have your own IP, and you won't have people coming to you. You're going to be going to them.
I love it. And I think that's kind of what I hear from other business owners is this is almost like sort of the systems and processes that you have. So that way you're more efficient, right?
Yeah. It is systems and processes 100%. And the other thing it is the ability to trademark and differentiate yourself. Because if you sell a service, I do weddings. How many, go Google it. How many wedding videographers are there? I do corporate gigs. I do events. I do, religious services. There are so many. So they know, like, if they're looking for somebody to, film a wedding, they know that the moment you start trying to negotiate on price, negotiate up, then they're just like, well, there's 30 other people right in my hometown that will take this. So they don't feel
Mm.
attached to you, right? But let's just say you have a program, which is, the ultimate wedding package, or the ultimate wedding Xavier, whatever, like give it a name that is uniquely yours. And then they get attached to needing that product. I mean, that program, because of the particular name.
I love that you brought up bringing creating a sort of a program, because what it is like like you said, you're building your brand, you're differentiating yourself. And I know, like with you, with all the videos that you do, as you keep working on that program, you just become more trustworthy, because if you have someone that comes into your video program, the 52 and 2, um, they're ecstatic, happy, they're getting crazy results. The next person that comes into that 52 and 2 is going to be just as happy. They're going to see very similar results, because you've crafted that program, and it gets better and better and better with time. So I'm taking a key nugget from that: create programs. Don't just sell your like a la carte. Create a program that's unique to your business, right?
Absolutely.